Hello everyone, welcome to Urbanscape Bangalore, and this is a very special episode wherein I will be talking to my friend Renaud, and I don't think he needs any introduction. You know him as the ZZ guy.
Hi everyone.
So what he's done today is you've purchased some online plans, right?
Yes.
So you wanted some tips on how to take care of these plans once they come home.
Correct.
Right? So let's look at your online plan. So these are some of the plans that he's purchased, and I'll tell you the names of it. I'm sure these are very common plans and you would already know their names. And if at all you want to know which place this was bought from, you can always DM me on Instagram. So let me first introduce you to these plants. So this is the bird of paradise. This is the miniature fern. This is the dahlia. So we've bought 3 dahlias. This is the gerbera, this is the croton, and this is the free tulsi plant, and this is the Dracaena marginata. So this is the mini fern, miniature fern.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is a very, very fast growing plant. So if you have this in this container, in another month you will have to replant it into another container.
Okay.
So first thing that you have to do is you will have to water it. See this? It's already droopy. Right? It's already drooping. And what they have done is they've just added, I can see they've just added the soil immediately. It's loose, right? The soil is not wet or it's not clinging to the roots. So they've just replanted this and they've sent it, which is good. I mean, looking at the condition of the plants, they've done a very good job. Right? So there's no problem per se, but then I think we ordered different colors of dahlia, but we got the same colors of all the 3 dahlias are of the same color. So that is the only drawback of this purchase, but otherwise it was perfect. Okay, so do you want to talk about this particular plant, the tulsi?
Oh yes, so I never ordered that.
Okay.
But I got a message today in the morning
Okay.
from the place that I ordered these plants.
Okay.
So they said it's a small surprise and they're sending me a basil plant.
Okay, so the holy basil is a complimentary plant that they have given along with the other purchase. Then another thing that I have to tell you is, see, look at the gerbera. So you need to water that.
Yeah.
Those are short signs of lack of water. Okay, so regardless of where you get it from, whether you get it from a nursery or you get it online, you have to water the plants. Have to water it if you see the soil is dry or things like that, or the plant is drooping. So that is one sign. Okay, and you do not have to repot these plants at the moment. Okay, and please keep all these things in a very bright location. Okay, so now for example, this area is a west facing location, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's west.
That's west. So this
the window is facing towards west.
So this is the west direction, so which is fine. You can keep this here, and these plants will do well for the night. Okay, all right, or for the day per se. And then tomorrow you can shift these dahlias outside. Okay, to the balcony. You can shift the gerbera as well. If you want, you can keep this here. Okay, the Dracaena. This is the bird of paradise, and we have big plans for this big plant. Okay, so we will be shifting this to a bigger container and we'll see what we can do. So the Dracaena, another thing is like once it droops, right, these leaves, it is a little difficult for it to regain that straightness. Okay, so be very careful with the watering and the schedule that you have for it. Okay, just be careful about that. And if you see certain kinds of those things that you see on your Areca palm, those scale insects, if you see them, immediately treat it with neem oil pesticide.
Okay.
And if it is not doing really well, shift it outside.
Outside.
Okay, that is one thing. The dahlia, of course, is a outdoor plant. You can grow it indoors, but it's very difficult.
Okay.
It will struggle, so shift it. Obviously, the gerbera we will repot, and these crotons, they are a little tricky. You can keep it indoors.
Okay.
You can keep it outdoors, but if it is indoors, it has to be near the window.
All right.
Okay, it has to be near the window, and one more thing, you will have to open the windows.
Okay.
Okay, you will have to open the windows. It needs a lot of air circulation. Okay, so that is one tip for the croton. Now for the miniature fern, they will do well indoors, so you don't have to bother about it. A bright location like this under the window would do.
All right.
Okay, so just take care of watering. It requires consistent moisture.
Okay.
So water that, and that will be perfect. So do you have any questions for me?
Actually, yes.
Huh.
So, do you have to repot these dahlias immediately, or can I just keep them like this for like a month?
You can keep
Because
them.
The planters look very new.
Yes, you can keep them for a month. You can water it and you can keep them for a month. And then most probably during the winters they would die.
Okay.
Okay, so you can cut it off as well.
Okay.
So if the leaves are drooping, or they have become black, or they have some kind of a disease and they are falling out, you can also trim them.
Okay.
So about the dahlias, they have tubers, so you don't really have to bother about the leaves drooping in the winters and things like that. You can just cut it off.
Okay.
Okay, so you can cut off the entire plant, the stem and the dying flowers during the winter, and it will still do fine. During the summer, it will perk up.
Okay.
Okay, so that is one thing, and then like I said, you don't have to really repot it.
Okay.
Once it does really well, I think these are dwarf dahlias.
Okay.
So the height won't matter much.
Okay.
So this size container is perfect.
Okay.
Okay, but then we obviously have different plans for this, right? So we will be reporting it anyway. But for others who don't really want to report it, this is a perfect container size for the dahlia. Any other questions?
Yeah, one more question about this bird of paradise.
Okay.
How often does it bloom?
So with the bird of paradise, what happens is it's a little tricky to get this to bloom, because this is one of those exotic plants that most gardeners really want. So I would say I think this is mostly a summer to monsoon blooming plant. So you can expect some blooms during those months. But the key to growing this and to get a lot of blooms is bright sunlight.
Okay.
So I think your west location would be okay, but then make sure that it is directly below the window.
Okay.
Okay, so that would work.
Or would you
Yeah.
want me to keep it outside in the balcony?
Balcony is perfect. I mean, you would get a lot of blooms. It would struggle a little indoors, and especially if there are some pests lurking around, like on your Erica palms and things like that, then it could infest that as well.
Okay.
It could, but I'm not really sure about that. I think it is quite resilient.
Okay.
But the only problem that can affect this plant is not good enough sunlight.
So one more question I had is about the crotons. How do I propagate that?
Okay, so the crotons are easy to propagate, but I would suggest you don't propagate it right now. It's still small. Okay, so let it grow really big. Okay, and another thing is, like crotons, you can repot at this juncture.
Okay.
Okay, so you could water this for 3 or 4 days, or you could keep this for a month and then repot.
All right.
Okay, and then once you repot, obviously it will become big, and you can propagate it with a stem cutting.
Okay.
Okay, so it's very easy. It's not a very difficult plant to propagate.
Okay.
But the only problem with crotons, especially if you have it indoors, is mealybugs.
Oh.
So you'll have to apply neem oil pesticide.
I have a question on fern. So this
Okay.
fern I got a few months back, 3
Okay.
or 4 months back from a nursery close by. I don't know which type of fern it is.
Yeah.
I had kept it indoors, just below the window, right? Like, in the same spot. And it died, and I wasn't overwatering it. It was very
Yeah, so
cautious.
this is more related to the lack of sunlight. Okay, so but with this plant, I think this is a little more resilient.
That was my question.
Okay,
can I
so
still keep it here?
this will be perfect. This is more resilient than the normal fern. Okay, you can still keep it indoors, and you can probably see if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't at the end of the day.
Okay.
But with this, what you can do is, obviously, I've given you a tip of keeping this in your balcony.
Right.
You can trim this off also, because most of the energy that is going into the plant, right, is going into these parts as well. This is taking a lot of energy from the other parts. Okay, so trim it off. And then consistent moisture, and you've anyway kept it in the balcony, west-facing balcony, it will work fine.
Okay.
Okay, another important thing is that you had this in a ceramic container.
Correct.
And I think the moisture was also a problem, a small problem.
It was a plastic container.
It was a
kept
plastic
inside the ceramic one.
Okay,
I think
so
I kept it inside this.
you'd kept it inside that, right? So what will happen with ceramic is like it will hold a lot of moisture. So that's why I told you to shift it to a
Terracotta.
clay container, because all the water will ooze out.
Okay.
Okay, so you can water it every day.
All right.
Okay, and do not worry, during the winter months they will anyway die out. Okay, so you can just trim it off, they will come up.
Okay.
That's their nature. Okay.
So one more question on putting compost into these planters. So how often would you recommend that I put compost?
So if these plants are kept outdoors, you can add it at least thrice a month. And there are no limits for compost. It's an organic substance, right? So it doesn't really hurt the plant. But avoid using it indoors, because you would get those mold formation, which is not very, it's not really harmful per se, but it's not very desirable also.
Right.
So do you have any further questions for me, Renald?
No, that's all I had to ask. And thank you for taking time out to come all the way and help me with providing a lot of tips on how to maintain these plants.
So you already know that I love plants, and this is nothing for me. I love doing this, and I've seen your journey from 0 plants to so many plants, at least these many plants. So I'm really proud of you, and I know how well you take care of these plants. You make sure you water them appropriately, and you ask me for tips now and then, and I'm able to help you sometimes and not always, and some of the plants have died on you as well, right?
Yes.
So how do you feel about those?
I felt pretty bad.
So Renald, with this we've come to the end of yet another episode of Urbanscape Bangalore, and I really hope people have enjoyed this short plant journey with you. So I will leave the ending commentary with you for a change.
Thank you everyone for watching Urbanscape Bangalore, and until we meet again, a very warm goodbye.